Happy Mamas. I'm Trish, and I just wanted to pop in. I know it's like 6 o'clock, and you're probably cooking or having dinner with your family, or getting your kids ready for bed, depending on how old they are. But this was the time that I was able to pop in. I've been thinking about you guys and coming in and wondering what we should talk about today. And I was home. Well, I was home all day. I'm always home all day. But, well, that's not true. I have things that I do. But I mean, I didn't do all that much work today because my youngest was at home throwing up. He's feeling much better now, though, so we're happy about that. But this little thing came up saying that I could put a mask on myself. I guess Facebook is trying to be the new Snapchat. Okay. Anyway, what I want to talk about is something that is really important in the communication. Now, I know that, oh, hi, Alyssa. I know that we've discussed how to handle it when people are triggering you, right? Because that when people trigger you, that really what they're doing is just letting you know the part of you that needs to be healed, right? And this was something that we talked about when I had that discussion about stepping into your power, not letting people take your power. But I want to talk about it from the other side. And this is when somebody is mean or rude, or when your kids are having a tantrum. I want to let you know that it has nothing to do with you. Now, not to say that, in relation to your kids, there isn't something that you can do to help them, but this is in any relationship in your life, whether it be with your parents, your children, your spouse, your friends, your family. When someone is having a reaction to you or something you did or something you said, in the same way that you get triggered by what people say, it's the reverse of that. You are triggering them. It may have nothing to do with you. And in fact, it usually has nothing to do with you specifically in that situation. It is that situation or what you said brings up something for them that they need to deal with or that they have some sort of baggage about. And that's not to say like they have this baggage, but that's just the reality. We experience life over the many years that we're on earth, and we collect beliefs, we collect experiences, we collect those things in our life, and they shape who we are. And in many cases, when we trigger that or when we're triggered by that, it is a reflection of something that happened that's giving us the sign. The universe kind of gives you the sign like, hey, you got to deal with that. You've got to address that. That's bothering you for a reason. But it is not necessarily my job to tell that person, I'm triggering you because of this. Because if you do that, in some cases, you're just going to cause a whole big old fight. But that knowledge is important for you to kind of step out of it and just kind of watch what's going on. One of my awesome mentors, coaching mentors, Maru Yabuchela, always says, just grab the popcorn. Just like literally like you're watching a movie. Someone's having a freak, and you've seen this. Like you've seen this on the street, on the road. People with road rage and they're driving, and whatever you like change a lane, they didn't like how you change it. They're like, and they're like giving you the finger, like screw you, and you're like, dude, like chill, Or maybe you're that person with road rage. I don't know, but. That person who's having the road rage, they're not really upset at that particular instance. It is what that represents for them, like that they can't get to the place to wherever they're going fast enough, that it's going to make them late, And I've had this discussion a couple times this week on, putting the responsibility in someone else's hands. And it's, a little bit of that blame game. It's like, it's not about me, it's about you. And it's like, no, it's actually about yourself. It's always inward. Whatever people are dealing with is always inward. And this is true about our kids, right? And one of the things that I wanted to mention in this is like when you have your child who's having a tantrum, let's say you're at the grocery store and they're having like the most epic tantrum, which totally happened to me about a year ago. I mean, it was that epic that I still remember it. And I actually was able to stay calm. And I was able to stay calm because I just kept telling myself, this is not about me. This is not about me. And I was able to disconnect from the judgment that I perceived might be happening with the other people in regards to my parenting, right? Because that's what happens to us. Like our kids are having a tantrum or they're misbehaving or something's going on with them. And suddenly it becomes about us, right? It becomes like that child's misbehaved. And we do it, to other people. Like that child's misbehaved because that mother doesn't know how to take care of them. Or, if those children, got disciplined, then maybe they wouldn't be so unruly or whatever. But, as when you really look deep inside in your own life and your own experiences, none of us have perfect children or perfect in, and I use that term really sarcastically. None of us have these children who are angelic from morning till night, every day, forever. And if they are, then you probably need to take them to the psychologist because something's wrong, because they're not dealing with their emotions. Because kids have emotions. They have ups and downs just like we do. We wake up in the morning and do you have the same emotion every single day? Oh, you're always just even keel? No, unless you're on Xanax or something, and not, putting down anyone who's on antidepressants. That's super important for some people. But what I'm saying is that we have emotions that we navigate all day, and our children do not have the same tools to navigate those emotions. And yet we have several conversations, in our mama group about how and today's little meme that I put up, the video by Tova was, how we lose our shit. Well, if we lose our shit and we're the adults, we have the experience and the tools to be able to handle these huge emotions, how can we not expect for our children to also lose it? And yes, their tantrums are more epic. So maybe we curb the tantrums a little better. But I have to tell you, if I was to go head to head with my kids on my worst day and their worst day, I don't know whose tantrum would be worse. I really don't. I have experienced that in my life where I'm really I've lost it. I'm having an out of body experience. It's so bad. And that's what these kids have. And so part of this lesson, I guess, of that it's not about you is that this child's epic tantrum is also not about you. It's not that you're a horrible parent. It's not that you're neglecting them. Sure, those things contribute to a certain point where kids need you to fill their cup of attention, and if they're not getting it, then they'll have a tantrum. But some kids process things differently. They have frustrations and anxieties. I mean, just in my own experience, one of my kids, if his pants don't fit perfectly onto his shoes, he's losing his mind, and I'm not going to go all psychology on him and be well, what is it about this look that makes you feel complete? He's 4. He's just decided that that's what he wants to look like. And when his pants don't do what he wants them to, he's going to have an epic tantrum. That has nothing to do with me or my parenting skills. That has everything to do with how he is viewing the world and the importance he's put on his style, right? But I don't have to get mad at him, even though sometimes I might. But the truth is that it has nothing to do with me. And you feel it. Ladies, every single one of you has gone into your closet, taken out something, put it on, and thought you looked like crap. And then you're oh, I hate this stupid outfit. And you're throwing stuff and you're putting other things on and you just feel gross and everything. And it doesn't matter what size you are. You have those days, And so here's a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old that's experiencing those same intense emotions about something that you may deem ridiculous. But other people may think that what you're going through and what you're freaking out about, oh my God, I can't find my keys, how stupid I am. I can't believe I can't find my keys. In the grand scheme of things, who cares? You can't find your keys. But for you, in that moment, that is a huge deal, and it's no different from any other experience that is a huge deal for you at the time. Now, we're not talking about how you can make that a less big of a deal for things like losing your keys. But we're talking about how to put things in perspective when somebody is reacting to you, when it is their own story. When your child is having a tantrum, it's him having difficulty or her having difficulty dealing with their emotions, okay? When your spouse is you don't do enough in the home, or you like, don't get me, or like, don't talk to me, that's their experience, because for whatever reason, they grew up in a spotless home, or they grew up in a filthy home, or they grew up in, again, no judgment, but just saying, like, it is a reflection of how they view things and the importance that they put on things. It is not about you, but about their experience and the lenses with which they see the world. And it's really hard to disconnect yourself from that, but it's important to keep that in mind, because it might be easier for you to not take things personally and like let them fill your heart with anger, And this goes as simple as, some mom or a person judging you on whatever parenting skill you have chosen, that they have decided to pick on, whatever it is. And there's a million things that we can talk about of different parenting methodologies, and, but whatever it is that you choose, if you feel good about that choice inside, what somebody else says, that's their story. If some woman who, does not breastfeed, makes you feel bad for breastfeeding, which actually happened to me. Interesting, because we usually hear the reverse story, but, like my mother-in-law and my mom were both not breastfeeders, and they were like, why would you breastfeed for that long? And I'm like, that's your story. You do what you want. But the same goes for the reverse. Somebody, doesn't feel like breastfeeding, or doesn't want to breastfeed, or can't breastfeed, should not be made feel guilty. But that woman, who feels like she needs to shame her, is dealing with her own business, And this is not about knowledge. This is not about breastfeeding. This is about choices that you make as a parent. And when somebody makes you feel bad for your choice, whatever that choice is, it is their shit. Okay, that is their story. That is because they need to feel that their choice is the correct one. Otherwise, they're wrong, right? But it doesn't work that way. You can make a choice and somebody else can make a choice, and they can both be right choices because they're right for you. They're right for your family. The working mom, the stay-at-home mom, the entrepreneurial mom, all good. What works for you? What makes you happy? How does your family function the best? Your choice. So if somebody makes you feel bad for that choice, that's their issue, because let's just take that. I went to breastfeeding. Why not take the stay-at-home working mom debate and, another sensitive topic? But what happens is, in many cases, when someone has made a choice, they feel guilty about that choice. And so when they see someone who has made a different choice, if they are not 100% confident about the choice they made, and they are wounded individuals, they may feel the need to lash out at women who made a different choice and say, like, well, like, why would you do that? That's ridiculous. Like, what kind of mom are you if you do this? Or what kind of a person are you? But that's their own internal struggle. That's their own critical voice. And those people in your life whose critical voice, which is the mean stuff they say to you, if they have a critical voice that speaks out to other people, then just imagine what their inner voice says. Because on a day-to-day basis, you don't go around like insulting people. I mean, if you do, we need to talk, because you shouldn't be doing that, because it's not nice. But on a day-to-day basis, you probably don't go around insulting everybody, and certainly not to their face, and be like, how dare you? That's a horrible choice. You don't say that. You might think it sometimes. You might say it to your friend. But if you actually verbalize, judgment to someone else, imagine what that inner critical voice is doing. Because I am super, well, you guys know me. You've gotten to know me. I am super nice, I think, and really accepting, and I am. But I still have that critical voice. I still have that voice inside me that says, are you stupid? What are you doing? You're such an idiot. I shut her down, that critical voice. And I will talk about the critical voice on another, live, because it's a whole other conversation. But I shut her down, but she still exists. So when somebody verbalizes to me some sort of hatred or judgment, in my head, I'm like, how much must they be struggling for them to let that part of them out? They really got to be brimming with that, hatred or judgment. They do, and you would be hard pressed to find somebody who is spewing hatred or judgment that doesn't hate themselves. It's just people who are happy and comfortable with themselves and satisfied with their life, or fulfilled in their life, don't go around judging people. They don't go around hating people, because everything that comes out exists within, right? What is that? I think it's Dr. Wayne Dyer, that says, like, when you squeeze an orange, what comes out is orange juice. Like, it's already inside. You can't squeeze something else out. So if somebody spews anger or hatred, it's because that's what's inside them. And I look at them as wounded souls, because that's what brings anger and judgment and hatred, is a scared or a frustrated or confused or angry little person inside, like a little child that got told, or that lived some sort of experience that made them believe that they're not good enough. So just think about that. When you're having a conflict with somebody and they're being mean to you, and even if it's your kids having a tantrum or they're frustrated, remember that it's their issue. It doesn't have to do with you. And if you add to it by like fueling the fire, then you're adding your issues to it. Then you have an explosion. And I know I've talked about this before, but if you can keep that in mind and be like, that's your story, that's not my story, and just be there. If it's somebody you love, just be there to comfort them and just be like, hey, I'm here. That's what we call in the industry holding space, where you hold space for somebody. You let them let the emotions out. You let the tantrum come out. You let the crying come out. You let the anger come out. And you just say, I hear you. You're angry. Uncomfortable pause on purpose, because there's nothing I can say there that's going to add to that situation. And that might piss the other person off, but just be there and hold space for them and be like, I'm here for you. That's all I can say, like, don't contribute any further as far as like your own, like, well, it's probably because of this or this. And I'm working on that, because I tend to be a fixer. So like when somebody says something to me, I'm usually like holding space. I'm like, but can I just make a suggestion? So I'm working on that part of myself, to just hold space for people. But certainly it's helped me in conflicts in my family, which we talked about, in my with my friends and with people I don't know. I'm just like, okay, great. That's how you feel. Okay, I heard you. Thanks. And that's it. So that's today's message. I hope you enjoyed it. What's tomorrow? Friday? Friday, I'm going to try to pop on again tomorrow. I really love being here and talking to you guys. I'm going to try to figure out a time that works so that we can actually have a conversation. Or maybe I'll just do another virtual mom's night out. Let me know in the comments if you watch this, if you'd like a virtual mom's night out, an opportunity for us to really like have one-on-ones, because I certainly would love that. And I think that a few of you at least might enjoy that. So let me know. And if there's interest, I'm going to try and plan it for the new year. Okay? So have a great night, and talk to you soon. Bye.